Welcome to the Elegance Of Nae podcast. I'm your host, Nae, and on this podcast, we talk about a variety of topics with amazing stories. Let's get into it, shall we? Hey guys, before we start the show, we want to give our love and support to Grind and Hustle Youth. They are a mentoring program that help ages 15 and older with business etiquette skills, in addition to offering a variety of classes from coding class, culinary, CPR, podcasting, and so much more. They also have a variety of courses that you can join as well, dedicated to mothers, fathers, elegant ladies, and raising gents. Check it out today at grindandhustleYouth.square.site. All right, let's start the show. Welcome back to the Elegance Of Nae podcast. I'm your host, Nae, and we have someone new in the building today. We have the one and only Miss Amanda Sweet in the building. How are you today?
Oh, I'm so good. I'm even better now that I'm here with you.
Awesome. I'm so excited. Happy you could join us today.
Yeah.
How are you mentally and physically today?
Today, I am really grateful. I'm grateful, one, for you for inviting me and being willing to work with me to get to this point. I know we've tried to schedule a couple times, and I believe that everything happens at the time it's supposed to happen.
Absolutely.
And your timing in my life couldn't be more perfect. I had a beautiful day. I've been talking to a lot of amazing mentors and people that are pouring into me, and so I feel overwhelmed with gratitude.
Awesome.
And just happy to be here with you.
Oh, thank you, hon. It's beautiful. I love it. So it's a new year.
Yes.
How's the new year been treating you so far?
I've been wishing and hoping and praying for a catalyst. On Instagram or TikTok, you see all these things where it's timeline shift and quantum leap. And all last year, I found myself saying it and sitting in my bed, doing nothing, asking for quantum leaps. And I feel like I did that this year several times in the most massive, life-changing ways. So in January, I found out I was pregnant. And late last month, I found out that I'm no longer pregnant. I was a week before my second trimester. Thank you. Yeah. But going through that experience of being I'm gonna be a mom now.
Yeah.
Is it took me in a whole crazy ass direction. Sorry, can I?
No, you're good.
and then finding out that I'm not anymore. It was like a double timeline shift.
Yeah.
Where it's this is not your path, and now it's not your path anymore. And then what's the new path? And I don't believe in going backwards.
Yeah.
So I'm how can I utilize this to move myself and my family forward? So to say amazing is not the right word, but to say life-changing probably is. It's one of those things where it's beautiful and terrible and amazing and gut-wrenching, but also I feel more safe in myself than I've ever felt before.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful way to take it too. I've definitely been there before, so I definitely understand how that is and how you can have that moment of joy, and then having that moment is okay, now let's try to reset a little bit. Let's backtrack and really see where you want to go with that. And at least and it takes time for that too. It takes a lot of time. Yeah. And it comes in waves. Yes. That's the only thing about it that sucks sometimes. It literally comes in waves.
Yeah.
We have moments where we think about it, and some days we're not thinking about it, and it just going to our usual day routine, enjoying life. And then you're just okay, at one point this did happen.
Right.
We do have to acknowledge it.
Yeah.
But at least you're not suppressing it either.
No, that's the one thing I'm not doing. I was how do I emotionally release this?
Yeah.
So that I can move forward.
Yeah.
And I feel I have to ask you, how are you feeling emotionally and mentally today? Okay, let's go there.
For me, mentally, I've been good. I've been just working really hard, really trying to get my program off the ground this year. The ball's been really rolling since the year started, so that's great. Yeah. Yes. And just really helping as many people as I can. Yeah. And that's because of how big my heart is.
Yeah.
And I know one thing that I learned last year was to make sure not to if you have any emotion, if you're sad, upset, whatever, don't suppress it with work. Don't have work overshadow how you're feeling. Let it out. I've learned that a lot this year. Let it out. Don't let it build. Because as soon as you let it build, it's not going to be a good
unmanageable.
Outcome. Yes.
I like to say I don't want to be emotionally constipated.
Yeah.
It's
That's
like
a funny way to put it.
It's funny, but it's true.
It's so
you know,
true.
and I am guilty of that where I'll just get busier. And I see myself doing it now and I reflecting on that. I'm like, am I busy? Am I filling up my calendar with a purpose? Is it purposeful? Mm-hmm. Is it fulfilling my mission? Or am I just being busy to avoid?
Yeah.
You know, what are we doing?
Yeah.
So I get that because I do that.
Yeah, because I did that. I noticed I've done that. And that's why I'm 3 businesses in.
Girl, yes.
I was trying to fill that void of not thinking about it, not talking to people about it until I was like, no, you got to heal from this. You can't just keep bottling up with work and trying to cover it up. It happened. It's okay that it happened. And it's okay to not be okay. You have those moments too. And to acknowledge it, it takes you a long way too. Mm-hmm. So that's a good thing too.
Yeah.
Just acknowledging that moment. So let's start from the beginning, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes. So are you born and raised here?
Yes.
Really? So tell us a little bit about how you grew up as a young Amanda Sweet.
Yes. So born and raised in Southfield. Mm-hmm. Went to elementary through like 5th grade and then moved to West Bloomfield and went to schools in Walled Lake, which was like a huge culture shift. So I like being here in Southfield or being 10 minutes from Southfield. I went to a predominantly Black school. And funny because I told my husband this like recently and he was like, really? I was like, yeah. And then moved to a predominantly white school as a Filipino, half white, half Jewish person. It was definitely like, you know, as a young kid, you're like understanding the culture of like one community and then you move to a completely different one where like just totally different. Yeah. And you're also different and you look different. And if I look different, I've always been a little bit on the heavier side. But I've always loved like getting dressed up and playing with people. Like if my mom recorded a bunch of like our birthdays and stuff in there, I'm just like bossing people around all the time. Like, you know, and I'm looking at it and like as a younger me, I would cringe seeing that, but I'm like, I see a leader in the making.
Absolutely.
She's just not processed on how to like properly lead, you know? But I've always been like a mama hen kind of energy. I'm like the oldest girl of 4 kids. So I have an older brother, and a younger sister. My dad is an engineer and a musician for fun. He plays the guitar. He's like my like ideation person. Like we come up with ideas and we drink coffee and we ideate and like brainstorm and bounce ideas. And he fully believes in all of the things that I'm doing. And you know, we'll brainstorm till the end of time and we'll make diagrams and we'll, you know. And then my mom is like the people person. She's the hostess with the mostest. We hosted parties all the time growing up. So it was always like, mom's hosting another party. We got to clean. We got to get the food. We got to do all this stuff. And then the party comes and it's like, do a dance, do that thing, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Filipino culture, but it's food, it's karaoke, it's like gossiping, and it's like party time, you know? So if
in
like,
that order,
in whatever order feels right, you know? And lots of food. And the kids always like do a thing. And there's always so many kids. So it was like, I was the watcher of the children, and we would make sure we would have performances for the parents to watch.
I used to do
that. So much fun, right? But yeah, going into high school, like going into like middle school, high school, like my body started developing really early. And so I was like a 12-year-old, 11-year-old, overly developed, looking like a young woman, but being a child. And then surrounding myself with people who, you know, were in situations that got them into trouble. I'm a risk-prone person. Like I love to take risks. And as a young person, you might not know this about me, and a lot of people don't, but I'm very like my go-to emotion as a young person was anger. Very self-hating, very self-loathing, very like deprecating. This has to do a little bit with the story. It has a lot to do with the story. So my mom is a survivor of human trafficking. And so she got brought to the States when she was 16 years old. And so there was a lot of that trauma that came out, that was suppressed and came out onto us as kids. Not not, you know, that's not to like shade my mom or the way she raised us. My parents did amazing.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of that suppressed trauma about like the way my body looks, who I am, like where I fit in the world, that came out through the trauma that was forced upon her, you know, and the way people treated her. And so as a young person, I like hated everything about myself. I hated my body. I hated the way I looked. I hated my place in life, and found myself in abusive relationships. At 12 years old, I was on alcohol and drug probation. I got in trouble really, really early. But I always like to say, like, had I not done that, I would never have found volunteering. It was forced volunteering. I had to do community service. I had to do all the hours. I had to pee in all the cups. I had to go to all the AA meetings, NA meetings at 12 years old. But that was like, it was my first glimpse into like community and community service and what people can do as a group. You know, like what can we do as a group? As a group of 30 people, we can clean up this whole park. Right. And we can have fun. You know, and also just an exposure to a group of people that were like, what the heck are you doing here? Why are you here? And you have to have your dad here because you're underage. So he's got to sit here in these classes with you too, you know? But then after that abusive relationship, several of those, and then when I was in college, I finally got the guts to break up with my current abuser, and I had to ask myself, I don't know how deep we can go, and I don't know, this is a little bit of a political topic right now in the world, but I got pregnant by my abuser, but I had finally broken up with him, and I was back at home, and I found out that I was pregnant, and it felt like a malicious action. Yeah. And so I decided that I had to either choose between myself and my life, or living the rest of my life with a baby and this guy who is already hitting extremes. Yeah. And what would bringing a child into that world look like? And it felt like a trap. It felt like a trap. So I made the very tough, terrible, heartbreaking decision to choose myself. But I had a moment, it was like it was like, if you're going to choose you, we got to live a life that's valuable. Absolutely. We got to be doing something positive. You're going to just keep drinking and doing drugs and getting in trouble and finding relationships with people that treat you terribly. Like, what's the point? What are we doing this for? Right. So I decided to take an acting class. That was what I did. After I dropped out of school, I quit my job. I broke up with my boyfriend. I moved back home. I got an abortion. And I remember, like, for the first time ever looking at myself and saying, like, really cringy. It was the most cringy way. And just being like, I love you. Like, so soft, so broken. And then I was like, what could I do right now? Because, like, from the age of, like, 14 through 21, I was in abusive relationships. Controlling, abusive, you know, all of that stuff. So I was like, what do you want to do? What sounds like fun? I had no idea. I was like, I don't know who I am. I don't know what I like. I was like, let me take an acting class. I always wanted to be a performer. I always wanted to be on stage, but I was always too fat and too ambiguous and too not enough of this, not enough that. But I was like, let me just do it. My mom was like, do you hate your life? Like, why are you acting? You gonna go act now? Right. And I was like, let me just see what happens. So I actually took classes at the Actors Loft, which is right down Main Street here in Royal Oak. And it was like therapy. I could be whoever I want. And nobody knew me there. Yeah. They didn't know who I was. They didn't know what I went through. They didn't know like where I came from. And I was like, I'm going to show up like this. This is how I'm going to show up. I'm going to wear makeup because I wasn't allowed to. I was going to wear crop tops because I wasn't allowed to. I was going to show a little cleavage. I was going to do a little this, a little that. And be sexy and be cute and be bubbly and see what happens. And it was like a moment where I was like, oh, I could be this. This is who I am. But I'm finding more of you. But I've never been in a space where people supported that version of me. Yeah. I was crazy. I was psycho. I was this. I was that. I wasn't good enough. And so I acted that way because that's how people talk to me. So yeah. Then I started modeling because they were like, oh, they're looking for plus size models. I was like, that's a thing? This was like 2000, I don't know, 2010, maybe something around there. This was like when the body positivity movement started. I was like, that's a thing? They're looking for plus size models? So I started modeling, I started doing runway. And then I started acting like on films and like local films in Detroit. And then I started going to hip hop shows because I was like, oh, like people are outside doing stuff, and I don't have to ask for permission. I had Twitter at the time. I was like, oh, well, people are posting things on Twitter. You know, let me go support. Yeah. Let me just show up, and I can look however I want to look. I could get as weird as I want to look because it's in a random house with no door on the front. There's no rules. It's $5 to get in. Whatever. They don't know me. Right. So let me show up in this yellow bucket hat. And then I started noticing things. Like I was like, oh, there's no bathroom. There's no doors on the bathrooms. There's no toilet paper. There's no chairs. They don't know that women are here. And if they do know that women are here, they don't know what women need. Yeah. So I pitched a ladies' night, and that was my first time emceeing. So I emceed like women's like hip hop night in Detroit at this place called the Untitled Bottega, which is now owned by Phil Simpson. Oh wow. Which amazing times in there. But they were like, we see you. You want to do stuff here? Do stuff here. So I started hosting improv nights. I was emceeing hip hop shows. And that's kind of like the birth of like the me now that you see. Yeah. It was like, okay, these people accept me for everything that I am, even though they didn't at the time. Like I was still very much suppressing a lot of parts of me, but it was the first time I was expressing like, I want to be that girl. I want to be hosting. I want to be making people feel comfortable. I want to make people want to come here. And then I was like, oh, I'm good at this. I'm good at this. Let's do another one. Let's do another one. So that's kind of the birth of like Amanda Sweet, the creative fairy godmother. Yeah. I said a lot, but
no, that was beautiful. Beautifully said. Thank you. Because it shows that not only have you went through all those stages, it birthed you and you found more of who you are within you, and a little bit more over time, and then being around those areas, even though you had moments of toxic environments, you still embraced yourself and came out beautifully through that. It's kind of like being in a garden or a forest that's so dark, but you blossomed into a beautiful golden flower. So that's something to really embrace and be so amazed about. I love it. I love it all.
Yeah, I feel like I don't talk about that as much anymore. Like when I first started speaking, I talked a lot about being an 11-year-old, a 12-year-old on probation, and you know, but now it's like so much stuff has happened since then. But it's good to just know that like you don't have to be born of privilege. You don't have to be born of affluence. You don't have to be born of any, like you get to recreate whenever you want. Like every time I walk into a room, I'm like, who am I going to be today? Right. Who do I get to be today? Yeah. You know?
It's just different versions of you, but it's still you.
Exactly. It's not being fake. You know, it's like, it's experimenting and expressing because it's in you. Yeah. You know, it's like all of those versions of me are in me. All of those women that I have been are still part of me. Yeah. You know, and there's all these women that I'm going to become, you know? So it's like, okay, I'm going to experiment with being even more confident. Yeah. What would happen? If I don't like it, the next time I walk into a room, I could just revert back. Yeah. But it might be great.
You keep evolving. Yes. And I think that's the best and most beautiful thing about anybody is that no matter where you come from, it doesn't have to define who you can be. It doesn't have to just paint an image of who you are, because no one would have known that you went through that because of how you carry yourself now until you explain that and you like, look, I did come from these stages, but I didn't let that define or change my trajectory of who I want to be. Right. This is who I am. This is who you're going to see, but I'm going to show you different versions of me. And that's what makes it so beautiful. And it's a beautifully said moment. And that's really cool. I love it. I love it all. So let's talk about how you, so when you left, you said college and went into your acting. Yeah. How fast did that start to roll for you? Did it happen right away? Did it take some time, or did you have to like embrace yourself into it?
I think it was a little bit of all of it. You know, it was like once I found the scene, it was easy to like keep getting more opportunities in the scene. And I say this all the time, like Detroit is a special place, but we are bootstrap, grassroots, get shit done kind of people. And so, you know, I wasn't getting paid to act. I wasn't getting paid to model, but I was exploring my interests. I was doing professional projects with people. I was learning from them. I was seeing things I liked, seeing things I didn't like. I said yes to everything. I was like, let me volunteer for you. What do you need help with? Do you need somebody to just hold the boom mic? I'll do that. Do you need somebody to help with makeup, hair? I'll do that. Do you need somebody to model? Do you need somebody on camera? You need somebody to whatever. And I started just saying yes, and getting walked on a lot. That happened a lot because I was still, even to this day, I'm still working on that, like people pleasing part of me, where I'm like, I am of value and it requires an energy exchange. But it was, there was a couple projects that I did that just kind of like just pushed me forward. But the culmination of all of it together was me saying yes to opportunities that felt good and learning from those situations and just putting my foot in the door and being like, what else you got? What else is there? Do you have another project coming up? Do you need any help? What can I do? I'm available. I'm available all the time. I will do whatever you want, and literally doing that. And I remember going to a bunch of events, and being a plus size model is challenging, especially like just anywhere. But like I remember going to one fashion show, having no hair and makeup, no chairs, no tables. There was no snacks for the plus size models. And we had to go to rehearsals every Saturday for like 4 months. Wow. And then when you get to showtime, there's no hair and makeup, there's no chairs, there's no water. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, there has to be better ways to do this. Yeah. Because we're putting just as much work in as the straight size models. Exactly. But they're getting all of the play, they're getting all of the photos, they're getting all of the, they're getting multiple looks, we're getting one look, but we still have to do the same amount of work, And then same thing with the hip hop shows. It was like I got the one-off like ladies' night. I got the one-off when the women come together, in March for a women's month, whatever the case may be. It was this one-off if and when we'll give you the call. We'll call you. But it was still like, it's got to be better. There's got to be something better. And I remember going to some events and meeting this group called the Motor City Street Dance Academy, and they're B-boys. And they had a bunch of chicks there DJing, b-boying, beatboxing, making beats, and they were in the basement of a church. And I remember like walking in, and there was a lot of Latinos there. And so I was like, oh my gosh, like, because usually you go into space, like at the time I was going into spaces that were either predominantly Black or predominantly white. And that was the first time I ever been in a space in Detroit that was like
more mixed. Diversity.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, there's Mexican people here. As crazy as that sounds now, looking back on it, but I didn't know. Like, my family was in Southfield. They didn't go anywhere. They didn't do anything. And so meeting them, and they were so like welcoming and supportive. And some people were photographers, so we started doing photo shoots together. And then I just started going to the B-boy rehearsals and just hanging out with them. And I met DJ Stacey J, who's she's amazing. She's an amazing female DJ in the community, and like being like, I want to host an event here. And I just said it. And they were like, okay, what you want to do? And I was like, I want to bring you guys, the fashion community and the hip hop community together. Because I was like, y'all don't know each other. Why don't you? I was like, do you know? That was like the first of my, do you know so-and-so? And it was all nothing but no's. And I was like, okay, there's a huge fashion community here in Detroit. There's a huge hip hop and music community here. And there's a huge b-boy breakdancing, b-boy producing community here. And none of you guys know each other.
Right.
So the first event I ever hosted and curated by myself was called the Trifecta. And we did that. So we did designers, and they had looks going down the runway while the music performers were up. And in between looks, we had b-boys dancing.
Oh,
and
that's awesome.
It was amazing. It was beautiful. I did it like, I had a small team. We produced like commercials, and we made photos. And this is like, back in the day when Instagram had no DMs and it was all filtered. I don't know if you were there for that era, but it was like everything was a vintage filter. But it was a moment of like, oh, like all the stuff I did with my mom, and I'm like caretaking for all these kids and the families and the hostess and the, all of that, and all the modeling and the hip hop stuff. Like it all like kind of gelled in this like beautiful event. And I'd done a lot of events after that. And then when we moved to Texas, my current partner, my husband, who is the most amazing human in the world, who sees me for the vision of me that I am.
That's beautiful.
He brought me to Texas, and I was like, I have no friends. Oh my God, nobody likes me. And so I started hosting events there, but I showed up like the person I was hoping for people in Detroit to see me as. So that's where the Revamp was birthed, which is my current company.
Yeah.
So it's just, I don't know, it's like all those little things are so small,
but it made
but
such
so
a
important.
big impact.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yes. And it sounds like with a lot of what you were saying, it's kind of like you were birthing more of the serving versions of you, giving and giving and giving, and you're trying to receive too, but you're also trying to understand and value you in the mix of all of it. And it's still a beautiful thing, but it also it's a puzzle being built, and it's showing the bigger image at the end. Exactly. Which is more of who you are and how you carry yourself. Literally. And that's just a beautiful way of saying it, for sure.
And I remember for the trifecta, I took an old bustier and I sewed a bunch of fake flowers into it. And that was like the first time I had ever done anything like that, like custom clothing, and like cut up a skirt and like did all this stuff. And I remember like it being the fashion and the hosting and the music and the people and the community. And it was just like such a like blip time, but like such a beautiful, like just exploration of like, can I do this?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can.
And I think those yeses, it really just shows how, and sometimes those yeses can really value to a different extent for you. Because sometimes when we're so used to the no's, it kind of dims our light of being creative. And I feel like when you have those moments of having those yeses and being able to just flow with it, as creative as you can be, as creative as you want to be, it brings a different value or light out of you.
Yes.
And I think that's the beautiful thing. And I always encourage anyone that's being creative, if they have their own style, go for it. Because you don't know who, it doesn't matter if someone has a style similar to you, but it's your style. It's no, like, everyone is not the same. We can have similarities, yes, but everyone has their own characteristics. Everyone builds themselves differently. Everyone learns differently. We speak differently, and we value things differently. So I always, like, anyone that I come across, if you have a form of art and you do it a certain way, you can kind of mimic someone, but make it into you. Make it into your own creativity.
It'll never be a carbon copy.
Yeah.
It's just impossible.
Yeah.
That's not how it works.
Yeah.
So get inspired, get motivated, get drawn to. But when you practice, like my husband paints. So he's an engineer by day, but he also paints and makes furniture and makes music and DJs. And so like he's painting right now, and it's different than anything he's ever done before. But when he first, like, he took a little bit of a break and was working on music for a really long time, and he took like a couple of years off painting. And when he first got back into it, he was copying a lot of people that he was seeing on Instagram. But I'm like, you just got to get your hand style back up. You just got to get into the act of doing the craft.
Yeah.
And then the craft will do itself for you.
Absolutely.
It's like it's like riding a bike. You're watching, they're coaching, they're screaming from the sidelines, this is 100% of crafty, But it's not until like you're like, okay, I got my own swag and I can pump and push the way I want to, and go in and out of the cones if I want to. But yeah, I don't think there's any, like, there's no, same thing with events. And I say this all the time. I'm like, there's 1,000,001 brands of toilet tissue, and whoever's gonna buy that brand is for them. Like, I'm a Charmin girl, okay? But that doesn't take away from all the other brands out there.
Exactly.
And they're all toilet paper. They're all the same thing. Nobody's innovating the way toilet paper is made. It's still on the cardboard thing. It still goes on the same,
Yeah.
But that doesn't take away from any of the people being like, I'm making a new toilet paper brand. So I feel like it's such a silly analogy, but like, same
that's
thing.
A proof point. Yeah. It can be 50 million of something, but it's always going to be that one of you. So it doesn't matter how many people are in this world. It doesn't matter how many people have the same style, the same whatever you want to call it, but it's only one version of you. Exactly. And I always tell people, like, you can always replace the materialistic things in this world, but no one can replace who you are. No one can fill the void of who you are as a person, how you carry yourself, and how you grow and evolve from that. And if you're not growing, that means something's holding you back from growing, and you need to figure out why or what it is. Because I feel like if you don't acknowledge or even notice that, something is holding you back from growing or being the creative version of you or a bigger version of yourself, something's wrong.
Right.
Like
sometimes you just need to be repotted.
Yeah.
And sometimes if the growth stops, it's, the acknowledgement takes a long time to figure out. Like, I've been in plenty of slump in my life, and like woken up from a like a fever dream, it feels like. But I'm like 3 months later and I've been sitting in my bedroom for the last 3 months not speaking to anybody. And I'm like, but I don't realize it's happening until I realize it's happening, you know? And those times of like respite and like detachment are also valuable and important. And for whatever reason, what you needed at the time, you know? And like, I would say like like 2 winters ago, I was like in this space of like, I deleted my Instagram. I was hiding. I was I was crowned the first ever Miss Voluptuous America, an international beauty pageant queen title holder, and it was a beautiful experience. And I went hard for 6 months, and then I found out some things about the way that leadership was running the organization that weren't in alignment with the mission that I saw on paper and the mission that I live as a person.
Right.
And it was devastating. It was heartbreaking because I was doing so much work, and I thought I was like, finally, I got this organization that's backing me and supporting me and in alignment, and we're on a mission and we're going to build together. And then getting not used, but like, you got to give it up to the beauty queens, because like people call you all the time, ask for your time, your likeness, your energy. They want you to drive they want you to drive to Lansing, to Flint, like all over the country, and not even offer you a meal. And not even ask you how you're doing. And you got to show up, and you got to be beautiful. You got to look a certain way. You got to present a certain way. You got to, you know, do the beauty pageant queen thing. But they don't talk about that. Like how much the community takes from beauty queens and the kind of platform that beauty queens have in the community. And I can go on and on about that, because I feel like there's so much. And then on top of it, it's like, even if you're getting pressured to go in the beauty pageant world, like they don't talk about that. That's a volunteer job. It's a full-time volunteer job that you're paying to do. You're paying for that platform. You're paying the pageant programs.
That's crazy.
But then you are doing the work. You are doing the volunteer service. You are showing up for appearances. You are inspiring, mentoring, teaching, and then you have to go to work, because you got to pay for your dues. You know, so going that 6 months was amazing, and then finding that out and having to take a step back, because I walk the talk. Like if we're gonna talk about inclusion and women's empowerment and equity and justice and diversity, then we got to do that.
Yeah, stand on it.
And if we're not doing that, I don't want to play. And I think I hid from the time I stepped down and stepped away to the time that the crown was passed on to somebody else, which was 6 months. Wow. I deleted my Instagram. I stopped showing up to stuff. I came to work and I went home. And I sat in my bed and I doom scrolled on Instagram. And I wished I was outside, and I was mad at myself. I was doing this pity party for like 6 months. And then I started writing, and I wrote 250 pages of a book that I eventually want to make. But it was that same thing of when I left that relationship, because that situation was very triggering, like some of my past relationships. Yeah. And I was like, what do I want to do? What's fun?
Where do you want to go with it?
Yeah, like what even feels good right now?
Yeah.
I don't know. I was like, let me just write for 10 minutes a day and see what happens. Let me just like, I took a sewing class. So that's what kicked off the sewing stuff. And then I took a second sewing class. And then I took a third.
And just kept going.
And I just kept going, and I started learning how to make things, and I started using my hands, started finding community again. And people are like, what's up, girl? You're doing all this awesome stuff. And I'm like, I haven't been doing anything for 6 months, and you think I'm doing stuff? Yeah. You know, so it's there's two parts of that. It's like people see you how they want to see you. Yeah. You know, and I feel like I did the work for people to see me as someone who does stuff, even though I was hiding, it felt like, for 6 months. But they're like, you're doing all this great work. I'm so proud of you. I was like, you're proud of me? I've been hiding. I've been depressed in my bedroom, you know?
I think that's really like us putting, when we have those moments, us putting that shield, or that, you know, those commercials where it has a little sign of the person smiling in the front, but when you're really down behind that sign. I feel like when we're comfortable and we're upset, or we're trying to find ourselves again, we feel that, but on the outside, we're just like, we're evolving in different ways. What looks fine, but even though deep down we're like, I'm not here mentally.
And I think that's when you first reached out to me about doing this podcast. The first time.
That's crazy.
And I remember feeling like, what am I going to tell her? What am I going to say?
I get that a lot too. With a lot of the guests that I ask, they're like, what am I going to go in there and speak about? I said, it's about you.
Yeah.
It's not about me. It's not, I don't ask any questions that does not revolve around who my guest is.
Right.
And that's what I love about this podcast and platform.
So good.
So yeah. Hey guys, it's Shout Out Break Time. We want to give our love and support to the one and only Amanda Sweet with her company called The Revamp, where fashion meets sustainability while bringing the creative community together through events. Their goal is to disrupt creative communities by introducing a new culture that pairs sustainability with fashion, art, and music. If you would love to find out more, check it out at therevamp.co. That is THEREVAMP.co. All right, back to the show. Okay, so you spoke a little bit on your business.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit more about it. So how is it doing? How is everything, like what's new? What is evolving? What are we going with it? What inspired you?
So again, Amanda Sweet, the creative fairy godmother and the founder of The Revamp. We do a quarterly clothing swap, which is community focused, sustainable fashion focused, and community service focused. Which we kicked off in Texas, but we are bringing it back now. And I actually just got the news yesterday that I got accepted into Tech Town's retail boot camp.
Amazing.
Which I'm very excited for.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So we've been hosting swaps for over 5 years now. And I would say I've been trying to figure out the data. I think over the last 5 years, we've donated over 10,000 pounds of clothing to nonprofits.
Wow.
So that's one part of it, but like I haven't been keeping track of how much we peer share, like in between each other. So imagine you clean out your closet, nothing that you wear anymore. You're like, get it out. It's taking up all the space. And 250, 300 people do that too. And we turn the basement in Bamboo into this like pop-up fashion festival. My husband is our entertainment coordinator, so we got a different DJ, music production. Like every hour, we have like a crafting table, so you can upcycle your clothing. And then for $20 a bag, you get to fill a bag. So you get to bring whatever bag you want. So we always suggest like the bigger the bag, the better. Get a good bang for your buck, because where are you going to go to get that much stuff for $20?
Exactly.
And that money helps us feed our volunteers, who are also our models. So our volunteers are also models. And then when we're done at the end, we donate all the stuff that's left over. And one of our main beneficiaries is Destined for Greatness. They're based out of Detroit. Shadora Ford, she's amazing. She'll be a great interview. So her organization support over 700 families in Detroit that are impacted by poverty. So last event, we brought in like over 2,000 pounds of clothing.
Wow.
And we donated to her about 700 pounds of clothing.
That's amazing.
And she moves it. She moves it. Like when I tell you she moves it, like I've never met a person that's able to say, this 700 pounds is not enough. Wow. We need more. And we need more in a week or 2 weeks or in a month. Because they do open houses every Thursday. So every Thursday they're giving out clothes, food, diapers, formula, all of that stuff. So that's why I love to support Shadora and Destined for Greatness, because she's putting in the work. Yeah. And she's doing it like largely alone, and she's got a full-time job. I'm like, where? Yeah. Where? How? I don't understand. But so my dream for the Revamp is to have our own space where we have like a plus size inclusive thrift store that people can shop daily, but also an event space where people can come, where we can host our clothing swaps, but other people can host community driven events that are like that party with a purpose. That's what I believe in. Like we're going to party and we're going to have a great time, but we're also going to like help people with our collective energy. Absolutely. So the clothing swaps are like a blast. Like just imagine you're just in all of your 300 best friends' closets. That's what it's like. And then at the end, we get to do service-focused work. Yeah. And it's fun. And I'm like, I really believe that it's so much easier to do it when we're collectively focused on a thing. Like I was doing when I was 13 years old on probation. Yeah. With 30, 40 people of my classmates, and we got to clean a whole park. You know, it's the same. It's not the same, but it's the same. Yeah. You know, and I'm like, this doesn't have to be a punishment. Community service doesn't have to be hard. Doesn't have to be grueling. It doesn't have to be a punishment. It doesn't have to be unsatisfactory. It doesn't have to be, not that there's anything, like, I wholly believe that there's a time and a place to like clean up trash and things like that, but that's not the only version of community service that exists. That's not the only thing that our people need. So for me, taking it to the next level by opening up a brick and mortar and supporting other people that are in that line of work, because it's hard to find a venue to get the buy-in from the owners, especially if it's like it costs a lot to have an event space, and it costs a lot to host an event. And so the roundabout dream is where we have like resident event hosts that are like paying a smaller fee, but everybody's paying a monthly fee, so that we can keep the doors open and cultivate your events and get people in and out and host events all the time.
Yeah.
Similar to what we're doing at Bamboo, but it's definitely more entertainment focused, event driven, community not community focused, because Bamboo is very community focused, but community, like as in like media, entertainment, fun, party, you know, like
how large can you see it going?
I want to see it global. I want to see it like I see that I need to do work, which is why I'm doing the retail boot camp. Because they're going to help me define things like, how much square footage do I need to buy? I don't know. I've never bought a building before. I've never leased a building before. I started working at Bamboo because I wanted to see if I could actually run a building. Like, what does it take to do this every day? And I feel like in this last 2.5 years, like, I figured it out. Like, I figured out what I'm good at. I figured out what I'm not good at. I figured out how to get people on my team that are good at the things that I'm bad at. And I feel like we figured out a way to like make this pop. And I was like, if I can make this pop for the Bamboo community, like, I know that I'm capable of doing it for myself and the vision that I have for the community that I want to build. And so in my dreams, I'm like, the first location is open in Detroit, and the second one is in Denton, Texas, where we started the revamp. You know, and then the next one after that is in Chicago, and the next one after that is in Philly, and the next one after that in St. Louis. You know, and it's like all of these spaces where I really believe that, like, and I've been seeing this all over the internet, that the third space. I don't know if you've heard the concept of third space.
I don't think so.
So the third space is the social space. That's not your work. It's not home, and the bar was that for a long time, but it's the bar is now not that anymore. The bar is very much like I don't know, drinking in and out. It's not built for like long-term connection. So the internet is taking that space, but the internet is also lacking in that. But there's a lot of like clouded energy. So the vision for me is like, can we make a space where people can commune and build relationships and try things and experiment with their lives and do all the things that I've been doing for the last 34 years. But with people supporting them. You know,
I understand that. And that sounds like amazing opportunity for a lot of people. And the fact that how much it's evolved from when you first started to now, it shows how much of an impact it really brings upon people and how much it shows upon people in so many ways than one. So that's just beautiful in itself. And I wish nothing but the success for all of that, because I can see going a long way, especially because it's so many people. I was just talking to a few colleagues downtown, and they were just saying, like, you know, you never know what a piece of clothing can do for somebody. It can change somebody's motive. It can change somebody's energy, spirit, mood, whatever. Because I was thinking of doing some great partnerships or sponsorships where, you know, with my youth program, where, because we, you know, offer business etiquette skills in addition to helping with dress attire. So I was like, it would be cool to partner with clothing that gives samples away, because you never know what those, you know, pieces of equipment can give.
You just let me know.
I will.
You just let me know, because we have so much stuff, and we try to get multiple beneficiaries where it's like, you need dresses, or you need women's professional clothing, or we need suits over here, kids over there, because we're gonna have an abundance of stuff, and there's enough to go around, and there's enough to share. But like, to your point, like, clothes do a lot.
It really does.
We have to do, that's a decision we have to make every single day.
Absolutely.
And imagine not being able to make that decision.
Right. I totally understand that.
Hey guys, before we go, we want to give another quick shout out to our amazing Amanda Sweet, our creative fairy godmother. She has an amazing show called The Let's Glow Show that you should check out on her YouTube at Amanda Sweet Live. If you would love to know more details, her information will be down below in the description. All right, back to the show.
So in the beginning, you pulled two lovely things.
Yes.
And the two things that you pulled was about mental health and Black excellence.
Ooh.
So based off those first two things in general, what is the first thing that comes to mind for both?
Separately, together?
Separately first.
Separately. Mm-hmm. Okay, so when I think about mental health, I think it's deeply rooted in the self and activity. I feel like it's a hot button topic right now that people like to talk about, but I'm like, mental health is something you have to act about. Mental health is something that you have to practice. Mental health is something that you have to do. And it comes up in crisis. Like your mental health practices come to life when crisis happens. So when I had my miscarriage, it was very relevant very quickly that we had been working on our shit. And I remember sitting in the hospital room with my husband and looking over at him, and I was like, what are you grateful for? And we do this every night, almost every night. We try to talk about our gratitudes, what we're grateful for. We've been working on our yoga practices and eating better and eating more holistically and wholly and things like that. And I feel like this is the first time in my life where my mental health is a practice that I'm actively doing and participating in versus just something that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, we should be, or we are, we do this, we believe in this, when in reality, it's like I'm just going home and scrolling on Instagram versus going home and meal prepping and putting in the work, seeing life coaches, doing somatic coaching, doing therapy, like doing the work, processing trauma, all of that stuff, which is hard. It's not easy. But there are fun parts of wellness, and I don't want this to sound like unachievable, but it's an action. It's an action and a practice. That's what wellness is.
Yeah. And how important is the mental health stability in your life?
I feel like,
or in general,
for me, there's always been a voice in my head that's like, you got this. I don't know where it came from. I don't know where it's from. God, it's from the universe, it's from something bigger than me, because I know that there has been situations that I was self-harming as a young lady, as a 12-year-old, like, just to imagine so close to 10, so close to 9, to be at 11 years old on alcohol and narcotics probation. You have to imagine the kind of things that I was putting myself through to get to that point where I'm taking 16 pills at school and getting in trouble with the law. So as that version of myself, there was still a voice in there that was like, you deserve to be here. Yeah. So I feel like that's a gift, but I had to work on that. And now it's like, it comes out in everything. It's like all of that work that we put in to like better our health and better our wellness is showing itself in times of like high activity and showing up in my business and showing up with my team and showing up with my community. So for me, it's everything.
Yeah. And that takes a big step to even acknowledge that too.
Yeah.
And that's really good that you had that voice to tell you to keep going. You got this, because we need those moments where, because we have mental breakdowns a lot without us really realizing we having it.
Yeah.
Because we're so used to pushing ourselves, trying to thrive, trying to be the person that we're trying to be. Yeah. But sometimes you need that comforting, okay, it's okay to slow down just for a second. Yeah. Like, because it can get overwhelming. It can get overbearing. So that's very beautiful too, to be able to have that within you. Yeah. To keep it going.
And there's always like a guiding light. Like, I think for a long time it was, I'm choosing my life over the life of my child. And that was kind of my mission, is to like live a life of value for the baby that I had to give up. And then for a long time it was like, I'm choosing to break generational curses and ensuring that all the stuff that my mom went through never ever happens again for our family, ever. And now, like right now, the driving force is, we didn't get to have our baby. we didn't get the opportunity to live this path, and we've been thrusted into this path. How can we make it the most valuable, and how can we utilize it in a way that's growth focused, gratitude focused, community focused? How can I leverage is not the right word, but it's the only word that I have right now, but how can we use this to grow?
Yeah.
You know, so that baby is like, we got to make that baby proud.
Absolutely.
We would do all this stuff. We were doing all this stuff because we were getting ready to have a family.
Yeah.
We don't have to stop because we are a family.
Yeah.
You know? So.
Yeah. And that's very beautiful too, to be able to, you know, and it's a good positive light of it. Cause I know it's, once again, it's very difficult to take that step in general, or just to go through it in general. Especially when you're eager to like gearing yourself up, like, let's do this.
Yes.
But it's okay. We have those moments, and that's great to be on the positive side of it rather than having it dwell in us on a negative standpoint.
Right.
And it hits us harder, or it makes us feel different, or it's not us being us.
Right.
So you also pulled Black Excellence. So how is it through all of your years of life?
Yeah.
You said you've grown up with, you know, either minority Black or minority white. How much of Black excellence have you seen over time, and who comes to mind on the Black excellence?
Oh my gosh, so much. Like, I have to just start with like feeling so immensely grateful for the Black community, for the Black people, because my husband just jokes all the time. So I'm also married to a Black man. So now I'm in the Jones family and the DeCluett family. And like, it just, like, my mom teases me. She's like, we saw that coming. You know, on the race side, I'm like, okay, well, why would, you know, but like all of my life, my teachers, my, like the people that I watch on TV, my friends, like just Black excellence everywhere. And I owe it to so many Black people in the Black community, especially Black women, for me being who I am today. Yeah. Like all of the opportunity that I have with fashion, all of the opportunity that I have to stand up. I was just reflecting on my mentors in the last like couple of weeks. Like, they're all Black women. Yeah. All of them, except for like one, maybe two. And all of the people that I'm mentoring, most of them are Black women. And I'm like, you guys ride or die for me. You come through for me. You support me. You see me. You get me. Yeah. And I feel loved, welcome, and encouraged in Black communities. And I don't take that for granted. I love that. And so when I hear Black excellence, I think of my husband, you know, like, am I getting emotional? I don't know. But I think of people like him. I think of like my mother-in-law, who's just like, she's military. She runs like 5 miles a day. She's 72 years old. She's vegan. She looks amazing. And she's helping us on our like nutrition journey, you know, and she's financially independent. And she told me, I remember she told me when Breezy proposed that she was like, never have more kids than you can afford. She was like, you know, even in my abusive relationship, I think of my ex's mom, who was like, I remember she pulled me out of a bedroom after like a huge blowout fight. And she was like, whether it's my son or somebody else's son, like, you never ever deserve to get spoken to like that. Yeah. And then just like little situations like that. I remember my 3rd grade teacher, Miss Jackson, beautiful, smart, educated, plus size Black woman. And like seeing her and her body type and her body shape and her confidence and her energy and her authoritative energy. Like, I still remember, like, she commented on my post when I won Miss Voluptuous America, and I didn't even know we were Facebook like associated. And I was like, Mrs. Jackson. I was like, you were one of those first women that saw me, looked at me, believed in me, spoke into me, poured into me. Yes. And just like, just all of those, like, I'm getting choked up. I don't know why. And then I have amazing people like Allie at the front desk, who I get to mentor and serve and support. And I see her situation and the situations that she's been brought up into, which is very common for a lot of young Black women, single moms, you know, dad's not in the space. And she talks about it all the time with Take Care Studios and why she built her wellness community. Like, her dad was in the prison system, you know, and things like that. And her being, we get to work together every single day, and I get to pour into her like Miss Jackson poured into me, and I get to, you know, lean in and tap in. And so like,
Yeah.
Why am I emotional? I don't know. Because of because it like when Black people win, people that look like me win.
Yeah.
You know, it's like mixed kids, immigrant children, other minorities. As a half Filipino, half Jewish person from both perspectives, like neither one of those communities accepted me. I didn't fit in. But Black communities are like, come on, let's go.
Yeah.
Let's play. Let's do stuff. I don't see any of that stuff, that the non-belonging stuff.
Yeah.
So just that welcoming, loving, supportive, like pouring into, you know, it's like I owe so much to Black women.
I love it.
You know, it's like, so when you pulled Black excellence, I was like, what can I say? I mean, and I talked about this on my podcast the other day on the Let's Glow show. I was like, I remember watching the Parkers and being like, that's so, like, seeing like fat women look fly on TV as a young lady whose mom, like, just her body image, her relationship with her body is so broken. But I understand where it comes from. And being 8, 9 years old wearing a double D bra and seeing fat, fabulous women on TV being confident, comfortable, getting educated, having a relationship with their parents.
Yeah.
Was like, I could do that too.
Right.
If she gets to be on TV, I get to be on TV. And then when I get to be on TV, when I did, the little girls that look like me win too.
Yeah.
So when Black excellence is supported and valued and contributed to and expanded upon and invested in, people that look like me also win. So there, I could go on forever.
I love it. I love it. And it shows how much of an impact because of how you just poured into that just right then and there. And it shows that, you know, it doesn't matter of who you're around, you embrace people differently. Just like the first thing that came to mind was when I first met you myself, when I met you, and your energy of how you presented yourself, how you came off, it was welcoming. It wasn't negative. It wasn't standoffish. It wasn't, because I read people very well. So it's not like,
you do this.
Yeah. It's like, I know when someone's just like being nice just to have a front or to just be like, I'm gonna be nice just because I'm in front of these people, but deep down, I don't like you.
Right.
I don't like that. Just be yourself. Embrace yourself. If that's how you are, genuinely just show that's how you are.
Yeah.
Because I would value a person that's very negative, but because that's just how they are, rather than them just
being upfront about it.
Just be straight up.
Yeah.
Be as honest as you can be, because it's more of who you are.
Right.
But I hope that you get through it, because it's clearly something deeper than that, than just what you're showing on the surface of what it is. And that's just, you know, I'll let people be great.
Right.
So, and then I also wanted to speak on, like, first, how did you meet your husband? And let's get into that.
Okay.
We spoke of him
yes.
quite a time, so let's speak on that.
I'm married to the most amazing, wonderful human. His name is Libri Jones. So if I say Libri, Breezy, Bree, all the same person. Again, like I mentioned, he's a multidisciplinary artist. He's an engineer by day for an automotive company, and then he is a musician, a producer, a DJ, a painter. He makes furniture. He's an explorer. He's an adventurer. And I might be dating myself again, but I started going to this one of my friends through the acting community. I met, his name is Myron Watkins. He is a videographer, and he used to throw parties in his loft called the Yellow Wall Parties. So he painted a wall yellow, and people would take pictures and make content in front of that wall, and they would have parties all the time. And I do believe that we were just in the same social circles, but he saw me once before at a party, and I was not prepared to see him. But he remembers everything I was wearing. I was like, I remember that party because that outfit was fly. But I don't remember meeting you. And he's like, you saw right through me. I was not prepared to meet him. This was like too soon before I was ready. But because at this time I was like, I'm married to my career. I'm going to die alone. I'm going to die single. I can't wait. Screw men, no more. I'm over it. It was the ice queen phase before I was, you know, it was after abuse, in between healing. It was somewhere. It was
that's
angry.
A hard time.
It was angry.
Yeah.
I was like, no, don't even talk to me if you're not talking about money or business.
Yeah.
So
I've been there before.
Yeah. So he wasn't talking about money or business. You know, he was like, I'm trying to talk to her. So I was like, no, shut it down. But so I went to this party. This was like years later, I think. And I was at Myron's house. We were at the Yellow Wall. There was like art on display. There was DJs playing, and I remember seeing him and just being drawn to him. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the most beautiful man I've ever seen in my life. The aura is giving, the energy is everything. He's smiling, he's got beautiful teeth, his beautiful face, he's dressed nice, his hair is cut, all this beautiful stuff. And I'm just like attracted to him. Like, who is he? And I just kept walking past him, and I joked all the time because I kept walking past him trying to get him to say something, but he just kept saying, oops, sorry, excuse me, oops, just very polite. And I was like, can you acknowledge me? Please, sir?
Like, I'll try to give you a hint
kind of
here.
like, I literally, I laugh at this because Myron lived in a loft at the time, and there was stairs, and he was sitting on the stairs, and there was nothing up the stairs. It was his bedroom. And I literally walked up the stairs just to walk past him and walk back down because there was nothing up there, nobody up there, just to bump into him. Nothing. Your girl was doing everything. I was pulling out all the tricks. Nothing.
Like, can you take a hint, sir?
No,
hello?
He could not. So that night when I got home, I stalked the internet. I was like, got to go to Myron's page. Then I found Myron's page, and I found some people, and I was like, they look like they're in the same social circle. I found his Instagram, and this is before DMs. There was a time before DMs, so I don't know if y'all remember, but we had to like all the pictures, and we had to go all the way to the front and send a message that nobody else would see. So I was like every other picture, all the way to his very first picture, one of his pictures. I was like, hey, were you at this party? And he was like, yeah, I had art on display. And I was like, okay, cool. Next time, like, you see me, say something. And he was like, hopefully our paths cross. All mysterious, ... not, yeah, let me get your number. Not, of course, let's, it was like, yeah, hopefully our paths cross. And I'm like, dang, okay. So I left it alone. And this part is important to me. I went to Israel 2 days later for 10 days. And it was like a birthright trip. And my sister and I went together. And at the Western Wall, you're supposed to put prayers in the wall. And at the time, they had just opened up the intersex section because usually it's like gender separated. And it was just too crazy for me. So I was like overstimulated. So I was like, let's check out this area that they just opened. It was in like a market ruin. And we had to climb down these stairs and walk through this ruins. And there's nobody there. It was literally empty. Full moon, all the stars in the sky, empty space, 2 hours for us to play by ourselves. So I just was manifesting my life away. We were wishing on a star. We were doing all kinds of stuff. Me and my sister were rolling around on the ground and enjoying life. And I remember getting to a point where I was like, what else could I wish for? And I was like, if I ever was to be in a relationship, this is what I'm looking for. And I remember it being long. I'm like, I want somebody that's left brain and right brain, somebody creative and logical, somebody like with a good relationship with his parents, but also like a strong sense of self, creative, and also like business driven and professional, but fun and adventure. And I just remember writing all this stuff down. And I came back from Israel, and it was like the new year. And both of our birthdays are right after the new year.
Oh, wow.
Mine is January 6th. His is on the 7th.
Oh, wow.
So it was like right after our birthdays. I didn't know it was his birthday, but it was right after my birthday. I went back to the Yellow Wall to another party, and he was there. And I stopped in the doorway, and I was like, hi, I'm that girl that messaged you on Instagram. He's like, I know who you are. And we talked the whole time. We didn't move. It was like 10 to 3. And we were just in the hallway, talking our faces off, just like falling in love. And then at the end of that night, Myron's like, can you guys go somewhere else? Everybody's like, get out. Get out.
Like the door.
The door is right there. You're like literally 10 steps from it. And so I was like, take my number, ask me on a date. This was like on a Saturday night. He called me on Thursday, asked me out on a date that weekend. First 20 minutes of the date, we went to the Woodbridge pub in downtown, like right near Wayne State. And I remember like he was 15 minutes early. I was 10 minutes late. He thought I was ditching him. I was not. I was just perpetually late person at the time. But 20 minutes into the date, I was like, you're perfect. What's wrong with you? Why are you single? He's like, oh, I just want to have fun. And I was like, oh, red flag, red flag. But it turns out that he actually just wanted to have fun. That is actually his life motto. It was like, I just want to have a good time.
Yeah.
And we kept having a good time, and we're still having a good time to this day. We're 8 years in. Almost 4 years married. No, I don't even know. We got married in the pandemic. We both don't know when. We don't know. However, 4 years. Yeah, 4 years married. Cause pandemic wedding we could talk about too. But yeah, he's the yin to my yang. He's everything that I'm missing. He's like all of the things that I don't have. He's great at, and vice versa. and he supports me like nobody else in my entire life has ever supported me. He's my home. He's my safe space. He's my collaborator, my best friend. He's everything. He's the most wonderful human ever. And so, yeah, I met him while I was like out doing me, living myself up, getting as dressed as crazy as I want to be. And he saw me, and it was immediate.
I
like,
love it.
I don't know anything. Like love at first sight, maybe love at second sight, the third sight, maybe.
That sounds beautiful.
Yeah,
I love it.
It's awesome.
That is awesome. I feel like every time I hear a beautiful love story, they always say we've seen each other once, or at least came across each other, or had the same friend circle.
Acknowledged each other.
Yeah, like we knew of each other, but we just like it didn't click or didn't ring a bell
ready.
Until it was ready.
And when it was ready, we were ready.
It was
like after that first date, it was like every single weekend for a year we dated. And then he asked me to move to Texas with him. Well, we met parents. It was like we dated privately. And then on the same day, we were both like, you want to come over for Christmas for the holiday? We did that. He's like, this is my girlfriend. I was like, you know what? I'm here. What? Say it again. Say it again a little louder.
Like, let me hear clearly.
Okay. And then I remember like maybe 2 or 3 months after that, he got a job offer in Texas. And I was like, you need to go. I was like, we could do long distance. We could break up. I remember saying like, I will not be the person that holds you back from your growth.
And that's a very big thing too. Yeah. That's a very big thing. And that's a very grown woman move too. Because it's a lot of people that don't understand that. Like they're thinking like, you're gonna leave me for a job? Like, no, you shouldn't. You delete, like, forget the job. No, if that's something that they're passionate about, that can take them wonders, let them do it.
Exactly.
Because their paths may not be with our path, but we just like everyone says, we are with people for a season sometimes, or just a moment, because we got to learn something from that moment that will build us to where we're going.
Exactly.
So that's.
But in that moment, I was like, is this gonna help you grow? And he was like, yes. I was like, then you need to go. Because he was like, I'm considering not going. And I was like, well, what are you going to do if you stay? I was like, because if you stay, I remember this was like the first time you saw this kind of energy from me. I was like, if you stay and do nothing, we're going to break up anyway. Yeah. Because I'm not about to sit here and work my butt off to graduate school. Like,
and you had opportunity.
And then you just gave it up to just stay and do what?
Nothing. For what?
So in that day he asked me, he's like, you want to move to Texas with me? And I was like, yeah. Absolutely. It was like a month after I graduated. And I remember I had a manifestation board and it said like, move out of the state. It was graduate college, move out of state. And I wouldn't have graduated college if it wasn't for Breezy, because I was in there for 8 years. I was quitting. I was going back. I was quitting. I was coming back. I was giving up. And he was like, you're going to graduate and we're going to do it this year. Like, let's go. He's an alma mater at Wayne State. He did this graduation speech, all that stuff. He was,
amazing.
And he was like, you want to move to Texas? And I was like, yes. It was like a month after I graduated. And he was like, I want you to think about it. I was like, yes. And he was like, this is a big decision. We're moving across the country. You're leaving everybody and everything. I was like, yes, let's go. And we moved the next month.
Wow.
It was crazy. It was so fast. And then we spent 4 years there. It was the best, most transformative 4 years. We got married there. Aww. We made friends there. We grew into ourselves there. We grew up a lot. We grew together. There was a lot of relationship mantras and mindsets that I had to break. Yeah. Because I was like, I love this man. He's everything that I want. And I cannot possibly hold on to this like jealousy or anger or fighting or short-temperedness.
Growing up to do.
I can't be that for him. He's too good for that. Yeah. So I need to step up and become the woman and the wife that he needs. And I'm not her right now. Yeah. So.
Oh, you're a grown woman-ish. That's not like
yes.
Period.
But same thing with him. He stepped up. He leveled up. He was like, I know you left your whole family, so I need to fill those buckets for you.
Yeah.
And
that's
support you.
That's grown man-ish right
yes.
there too.
Yeah. So that's like beautiful. Just so good. So good. He's amazing.
That sounds amazing.
He's amazing. But it took a lot of time to get there. And we put in a lot of work into our relationship.
That's good.
And it's one of our top priorities outside of ourselves. It's like we are our number ones, and as a couple, that's a number two. Yeah.
Because you can't pour into you have to pour into yourself in order to pour into something else.
Exactly.
You gotta fill your own bucket first before pouring it into something.
And we know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So before we close, what is a question you want to ask me?
Yeah, so it seems like you are a multi-passionate entrepreneur and artist. What's driving you to execute all this awesome programs, awesome podcasts, the mentorship program? Like, why do you do what you do?
For me, I grew up with a family of entrepreneurs. So I've grew up with aunts, my mom, and just being able to be around that captivity of boss women energy and learning from them, learning what not to do, learn what to do as far as carrying yourself. And then just, I always grew up being that girl of like, oh, you're very mature for your age. I've been getting that for a very long time. And I actually love that compliment because it shows that I surrounded myself with the right people. I surrounded myself with very wise people. And I'm not acting the age that people think I would be. And that's what I love because I'm my own self, I'm my own character. And I just have a really big heart. And I also just want to tap into that to be able to, I can provide help or services of what I do. And I love to serve, especially if I know what I'm doing. If I can really help you, I would love to, especially if my creative juices are flowing. I just go and run with it. So with my art business, I started that with just me. And it is still just me, but just being able to be creative, sell my artwork, and then help other businesses in the mix of that, I just try to grow and evolve from that. And it's just been beautiful ever since. And then showing that I can be of service to others within that too. And then with my mentoring program, Grind and Hustle Youth, it's just to be able to help people evolve and give that guidance that people need, because people need just a little push sometimes. And to be able to give that outlet to people is just awesome to me. So yeah, I just love it all. And then my nonprofit that I'm working on is called Helping Hands Community. And our goal is to help pass out weather-oriented baggies to the community that needs the help. So whether it's ponchos, hand warmers, gloves, hats, all that good stuff. Our goal is to really evolve with that to where we have a building where they can come and take showers, get a fresh haircut from beauticians or barbers to feel like themselves again, and to be able to branch out, maybe get a job or just help get some type of guidance somewhere. So I working hard to get those things done, and I have a goal, and I'm trying to really reach that goal within the span of 2 years. So I'm pushing.
What's the goal?
Right now, to be a multimillionaire in 2 years.
Ooh.
So, and that started at the end of last year. So I'm really pushing this year like crazy, and the ball has been rolling. I'm talking about God has been putting me to work this year, which is beautiful.
So tomorrow there's an info session, and the last info session for Motor City Match, and they just opened for their season, like this upcoming season. They grant people $150,000. So tomorrow I'll send you the link.
Yeah.
Because you should come.
Yeah.
Just the info session.
Uh-huh.
And then apply.
Okay.
Apply.
Yeah. Because you never know.
Because you do know. You know what you're doing. You have a mission. You have a vision. You're willing to do it. You're putting in the work. So
I love it all. Any help will help. Any help will help. And that's the same for me. I love helping, especially if, even if it's the little things. It's always a little thing that speaks louder than anything for me. So that's mostly it.
I mean, yes, you mentioned your family, but where inside of you is this drive coming from?
I think it started for my art business, what pushed me was my art teacher. And she passed away last year. Sorry. It was a big impact on me because she was the reason, maybe not last year, I got my years probably wrong, but she did pass away, and it impacted me, and it threw me off because she was my mentor. She the one that pushed me, because if she didn't push me, I wouldn't have an art business. I wouldn't take my art seriously. I would have just like, I'll be all right. And I probably would be working for someone else right now. Even though I'm pretty sure, knowing me, I wouldn't be working very long. But yeah, just having that drive. And then after I lost my kid, it was just like, all right, well, I got these tools, got these skills. Let's push it and project it and go crazy with it. And then just kept going and keeping up with my faith too, and knowing that I can help others, and helping, just seeing, like, knowing, like, when I have those my members that come into my program, and just seeing them get the help, and then seeing them evolve after the help that I gave, it warms my heart, knowing that it's working, that I'm at a good stage. So that's what motivates me, and that's what keeps me going, really. Yeah.
And what do you feel like you need to get to the next level?
right now is just acknowledging the tools of people that said they would love to help, and really picking back up, making that phone call of the people that were like, oh, well, reach out when you want to do this. And I was like, now I can actually make that call, because it's like, at first, at the time of them acknowledging or saying that, I wasn't ready yet. Yeah. But now I'm at that point where, all right, it's time to make those phone calls. Now it's time to get to work. Let's put into effect if they're very serious about really wanting to help and take that step with me. So yeah, so really just evolving and pushing that. That's really the thing for me. So yeah. But yeah, it's been awesome.
It's been so good.
Are we doing a part 2?
Hell yeah.
Okay, guys. So make sure you guys stay tuned for a part 2 of this lovely lady, Miss Amanda Sweet. And we'll be having that part 2 on our Patreon, or become a subscriber to our Spotify to listen in on that deeper dive. Until next time, guys. See ya.
It's a wrap. It was great seeing you. We're so happy you joined us for this episode. Can't wait to see you next time. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. And check out our information down below in the description. See you till next time. Bye.